Early signing day has come and gone. We're going to get into it with, of course, our good friend and special guest, Nick Osen. Here we go.
Welcome to the Bucky Report, your destination for all things Wisconsin Badgers. Authentic takes.
Oh my God.
Game analysis.
Touchdown Badgers! Ring one up!
And discussion from the fan perspective.
Woo-hoo!
Thanks for joining us. And on Wisconsin.
Welcome into the Bucky Report. We are your hosts, Rajiv and Justin, back together for a midweek special episode to, of course, talk about early signing day, which was yesterday. The Badgers have added 14 new players to their roster coming in the fall of 2026. And of course, you can't talk about recruiting, especially after signing day, without our good friend and special guest.
The Bucky Report proudly welcomes Nick Osen from 247 Sports.
You even get the applause, Nick. Welcome, buddy. Good to see you again. Good to have you back on the show. How you doing?
Guys, thank you so much. I'm doing well. Doing even better because I've missed doing this with you guys. So I'm glad we can make it happen. Grateful for the time. And if people haven't followed, there's plenty to talk about.
There is plenty to talk
pull you away
about.
from that bum Ryan.
And there's plenty to talk about. We're going to jump right into this because we've got a lot to cover today. We're going to start, and I want to let Justin start with this one, and then we're going to let Nick kind of tell us all the inner workings that he wants to share. But the biggest story, of course, is the loss of running back Amari Latimer from Georgia, who pretty much at the last minute made the shift over to West Virginia, clearly for more NIL dollars. And that has really, frustrated the fan base a little bit. Certainly frustrated the guy sitting to my right, Mr. Justin Jolka. Justin, I'm going to start with you on this one. Talk to me about, give me your thoughts here. Like you've obviously had a lot to say about this. Give me your thoughts on the entire Latimer situation.
For me, it's simple. There's a way to handle these things. It's not to play the games the way they did here. And honestly, I think if it was me in Wisconsin and this team was in a better situation, if I was in control of this and this is how it played out, I would have just been like, I'm out. You can go if this is how you're going to handle your business. If you wanted to negotiate with us, we could have sat down and talked about it. But dropping it on me at the last moment like this and trying to force our hand, like nothing good's going to come out of that. It's going to strain the relationship, even if you sign the kid. So the way I look at it is like, why create this negative environment that you don't have to? Like if you have something you're looking for in terms of financial, aspect coming out of it, just be honest. Like I don't understand why you mess around with this stuff in this way. It just makes people think they're not dealing with somebody who they can trust. And I think that in the long run ends up hurting you. Like you're less likely to want to negotiate with that person if you don't think they're being straight with you.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's a lot to unpack with the whole situation. Nick, obviously you are closer to it than certainly than Justin and I. Give us your sense. Maybe you can kind of just talk through a little bit more some of the details that you can share about kind of what happened and the timing of it. And, again, from someone who is, very much constantly in the inner workings of recruiting, talk to us about what happened and what we need to know about what went down there.
Yeah, guys, absolutely. So I will say, first and foremost, there are some details, that I'll leave just kind of on the boards and things. But you guys deserve, obviously it's out there and with my guys here, some of a breakdown. And so basically it was like everything was seemingly really, really good coming into the week, right? I'm checking in throughout the week with people on all sides, and Wisconsin was getting all indications, truthfully. I trust the people I spoke with. I was talking with and trusting the Latimer family throughout a lot of their recruitment, and they were given all indications. Yeah, we're all good. We're going to sign. It's going to be in the morning, Wednesday. And I'm talking, this was up through Tuesday night. So people flip. Okay, we know that happens. Like Janda, Petit, that happens. And I'm not, the moral police here. I'm just laying out the facts. So there was no indication going into really that big day that they were even really fully listening to others, but certainly not really considering, right? There was some Miami buzz, but I think that Wisconsin was well aware of that throughout a lot of it, and I don't think that that was a huge worry. I do think Amari liked the Hurricanes idea a little bit. That is something I've said for a while. I thought they were a little bit of a bigger threat than Ohio State when there was all that buzz. And so we're kind of going through the week, and it's essentially, from my understanding, it gets to Wednesday, and there's some buzz coming out Tuesday night. There's a mystery school. That's what I posted. That's what I was hearing. And it kind of comes out that the family over the Minnesota game again, so that last weekend, just a few days ago, this week has felt like a year, but they get out to Morgantown and take an official visit. And that was, credit to the Latimer family for early in the fall throughout some of these things. They were in touch about these visits, okay? This one was very much not passed along to Wisconsin. That really would have been.
I'll add to that because I saw this on Twitter. Somebody actually came out from the family and said, we never took that visit. We never went there. And I blew it off at that point. I assumed that there was something BSing going on from the West Virginia site at that point. Like they had some wrong information.
Mm-hmm. And I first thought that too. But then obviously speaking with some West Virginia people and hearing. And so then we get to Wednesday. And I'm grateful. I'm preparing. Some of these announcements are coming out. And I kept waiting for Latimer, and I'm checking in with the Wisconsin side. I'm checking in, with the family because we've established a great, amazing rapport over 8-9 months, like 5-6 months. Meeting 3-4 times in person, and they're just essentially the direct communication. I don't care about me in this instance, but with the Badger staff, who's done everything. I mean, I'll be critical when needed, everything potentially impossible to get this young man here. Young man who they loved. I saw all the interactions when he was here for the Illinois game, which the staff helped set up, all that good stuff. And they just couldn't get a hold of him. And so can you imagine the gem of the class, the huge diamond win, you're not even knowing what's going on. And so then it's going through national outlets, counterparts at On3. I think Steve Wiltfong had mentioned something, and people threw screenshots on our boards. Then it starts getting into seemingly a bidding war. Now, while I do know Wisconsin got more aggressive, I firmly believe in my heart that was just sent out there to be kind of a leveraging piece. Mm-hmm. Okay, what can we get a little bit more in the end? I think that this was potentially, thought about for at least a few days at the very least. And obviously, I'm not saying anything more than what I know and experienced. My interactions with all these people were amazing. You saw the pictures, tweets, everything from that trip in Atlanta. But I know what Devin Spalding and Zach Zillman, when he was here in the recruiting department, and all these amazing guys did, and the true connections for this family. And nobody can force you to go to school if you really don't want to. Okay, but just the way that it was handled, and the way that even I had to kind of deal with it when I was told that I was going to get all these, info pieces and an assurance at the end. It was a tough one. And I mean, our guy, John McNamara, at my site even said, he's been doing this 15 years longer than me. He said, man, dude, I'm not sure I've ever seen a recruitment end like this. So even in today's day and age, like even a Chris Henry one, if he's going to Oregon, there are quotes directly from him coming, oh, it's because of Brian Hartline. I'm worried about this. Like it was purely silent. And it was just an interesting one to cover and a tough one to swallow, because I know that there was not a full clarity of trust in the end with Wisconsin.
That's great insight.
Was explained well. I think so.
Can I throw just a question here for you, Nick, on this? And so what you're saying is we tried to negotiate, and you don't think that was used, like he never was truly bargaining with us in good faith. It was simply just trying to up the West Virginia.
That I only speak, in certainty, so that I can't say.
No, I know you can't speak.
Feeling I got, because when I was checking in around that little piece of info, I was hearing from the program side that they were still not able to get this young man and the family on the phone. So that is why I'm kind of going with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So basically, we got iced out on this, and it was.
That's the terminology I used. I'm not saying anything more than that. That's exactly what it felt
fine.
like.
I'm truly speaking from my own perspective on this, which I'll flat out say. It seems to me like they played the game with Wisconsin, and then they took that visit, and this was a plan the entire time. and they're just like, we won't have to deal with them if we wait until the last second, and then they can't do anything about it.
It's like ghosting, or something like that. Basically,
no, that's exactly it, Ryan. And
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Rajiv and Justin. Like truly how no, that's our guy. But truly, just it's a perfect way to put it. It was like if you make these decisions, and then I'll dish it off, Rajiv. But just that is these people's choices. Of course, any player recruit. But the fact, I'm not going to share every little thing
It's
from
just
the last
cowardly.
few years, but the way that Wisconsin did literally everything that was really asked and went over the top. And I'm telling you guys, it's not like these NIL offers and things were not competitive. I mean, it was a crap ton of money out there for a running back position, and that's how it ended up. We'll see how it all shakes out.
Yeah, my thoughts really on this are and I said this before, I think hearing more about it, and first of all, Nick, thank you for all that detail. That's good stuff for our listeners. Hearing all the details about how it happened is certainly not sitting well with me. The fact that he left to go for more money in West Virginia, that does not bother me at all.
Me neither.
Even the fact that he committed to us and then he left, that doesn't bother me. I know, Justin, you were saying yesterday, you don't like when someone commits and then decommits, right? My thing is you never know when these guys are going to play, if they're going to play in the NFL or not, right? So his stock is very high right now. Clearly, he is a high level recruit with a high upside and by all intents and purposes, a high floor that a lot of people can see. Therefore, I have no issue with him going to get paid now while he is still healthy, while his stock is high. But my thoughts on this have evolved in the last just day or so, just because hearing what you talked about, Nick, and reading other stuff on the boards and it's the way that it was handled that clearly just wasn't necessary. You contrast that with Jaden Petit, and he basically told the coaches, he said, listen, I'm decommitted. He decommitted for the same. He decommitted for whether it's more money or a better program, whatever it is. He also committed and then left, which again doesn't bother me, but at least he did it in a slightly better way. He even gave me and Justin a shout out in his message. So I think that I do appreciate the way he handled that. And I will say, and I've been overall just kind of saying I'm not really bothered by this Latimer stuff, because ultimately if a player doesn't want to play here, I don't want him to be here. But he could have handled it better. And that's really clear.
Well, and I think that's where I get bent out of shape with this is I take a look at it and I'm like, it doesn't have to be this way. The money thing is separate from the negotiation aspect of it to me in general. I don't care about the money. I want, if things are going to be done, have them be done above board. If you want to be greedy and just say this is about money for me, put that out there. Say that that's what's important to me in this situation. But be honest with yourself about it. And don't play games and don't be cowardly with it, with how you're going to handle the situation.
And if I could just
from the get-go, the whole thing about committing to me was, and I've talked about Nick about this several times. I've talked to you, Rajiv, about it plenty of times. Just don't commit. Just say, hey, I don't know where my head's at. I'm confused, or I need to take some time and sort this out for myself. What's the best situation for me? And I don't feel like it's fair for me to put you in a bind here and have you betting on me being in your class when I'm still not 100% sure where I want to go. And I don't think it's that hard, which is why the committing thing to me is it's just the grown-up thing to do in these situations, rather than, it felt to me the whole time we were kind of being kept as a fail-safe, worst case scenario, this is the easy spot. My brother's going there. I'll just go there. And
so
go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to hop in real quick, and then I'll roll. I know we got other great things too, but Justin, first off, was spot on with that. I remember this dude was hitting me about it in April or May when I was continuously reporting. I'm grateful for the access I had and how we covered this. It was feel really good. Everybody was kind of waiting. I also want to say, because I made sure to say this on boards and everything too, I never have claimed any numbers. I don't know what the exact things were. I've just shared what I know as facts. But guys, I don't mind saying I put it out there, and they were with me in person. This was 10 days ago. I'm standing at the Arch March with families, and I'm so grateful. A bunch of them that I've met, and you see how Fickle stops by and shows love to the family, and Spalding. And I'm not naive. I know that in this day and age, even though I'm younger, I am an older soul. I'm more wholesome in relationships and that type of thing. But I think the most clear thing I said, I think, was today. There can be lacks of clarity. It can be money discussions. People can flip all of that. But man, speaking with just, kind of being around the program and hearing kind of the sense of just how they were kind of left feeling a little bit. It wasn't so much
I'm sure
we didn't get this player we really, really wanted. It was like, how did this just kind of shift? Being told 12, 13 hours prior, all is good, we'll be signing at this time. Like that's messed up. I haven't covered that many players at this level, and credit to Amari for getting to that, level of player and rating. But I've just 5 years, I've never heard of it. I've never heard of it. The closest was Kenyon Sadiq, who didn't include Oregon in this top 3, and Iowa State felt all good when I was there. But then there was at least no, I'm saying that he sent out a top 3. It was kind of a more secret thing. But then there was like he and his family at least kind of mentioned, okay, this was what we're going to do going in. So crazy, man.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's ultimately a big loss for the class too, right? And you're right. Listen, and hearing some of those details does make me feel a little bit differently about it. So again, thank you, Nick, for that. Let's turn our attention to those in the class, those that did sign on that dotted line for Wisconsin. And kudos to those guys. Congrats to those guys for committing and signing with Wisconsin. Let's get into that. We're going to go over some likes, some dislikes, some concerns, I guess, and then some superlatives about this class, which are always kind of fun when we're kind of projecting this class out into the future. So let's start with Nick. In general, what do you like most about this class? From a breakdown of the bodies in the class, the positions, what makes you happy about this class?
I like some of the guys, which I'll get into a little bit further, that I think we'll see about their floors, but that are very high ceiling types. And I like that this staff was able to get a few really key pieces in this last 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. That impressed me. And I think that I put on the boards earlier this week too. I do think that shows a little bit of kind of that increased war chest that I reported a few weeks back about kind of the NIL infusion. And in terms of players, I'll just say one for this one. I think it's great that they got essentially their top QB target on nearly from the jump. There were not a ton of concerns there, and I know we'll get into some of the superlatives.
Mm-hmm. Justin, what do you like about a class the most?
I think there are a lot of depth pieces in this group. We'll see what these guys end up being like in terms of how they fit into the overall, bigger picture. But there's a lot of guys I look at that I'm like, I can see this guy being a part of the 2 deep in a year or two and being a really solid contributor on this team. The ceiling type stuff, we'll see. There's some guys I like, but this class being so small to me is a little concerning. I know there's some of the talk about why they're going with it. I don't love it. I think the portal is more expensive than it is to go through high school. And so I'm a little concerned about how you stretch that budget over what is likely to be 30 plus guys potentially coming in this portal, which is a little scary to me about how do you find the money for all of them.
Yeah, it's a really good point. Like it's obviously less expensive to get them at this age when they're stepping into college, rather than having
not production.
That year of experience. Yeah. I said this last night. Ryan and I were talking about this on the Basketball Reaction Show on Locked On Badgers last night, and I actually just like all the guys in this class. And I don't mean that like that's just hyperbole. I think that like when you look down this list, I'm like, all these guys from the top to the bottom look like they can be real producers. It's like some of the old school Badger classes of like 3-star guys that can really develop. And some of these guys can play in the NFL. And we don't have a lot of big, huge 4-star names. We don't have a lot of that. But we have is guys that I think really can project nicely. And the overall floor of these guys, I like. That's the thing that I like.
Agree with that.
They can be really productive, and the athletic profiles that they bring in. Again, we're going to get through some of those guys. It's just really nice to see the fact that I still think we're recruiting the right type of guy, the right profile of guy, which I think is super important. As far as concerns, for me, it's certainly just numbers all around the board. I mean, you're talking about 14 guys in this class at a time when we are going to lose a plethora of folks to the transfer portal. If you like a guy on this roster, he's probably going to be gone. There's just a lot of people that are going to be leaving this roster, which means we're going to have to supplement heavily in the portal. But ultimately, Like, I think that, it was great that we got the positions that we got, the fact that we got Keyshawn Tabuto, the fact that we got Quantavious Wiggins, the fact that we got Brady Beckenhouse. Is it Brady Beckenhouse or Beckenhouse, Nick? What's the right way to say it?
I've been saying Heist.
Beckenheist. Okay. All right.
I believe that is it. Yeah.
That's good. So Beckenheist, but those are really important things. But yeah, ultimately, we just need bodies in this class. And of course, the lack of those superstars with the loss of Petit and Latimer, you lose some of that superstar power. And that's the biggest concern here. I do think the class can fit in nicely with what we saw in the 24 and 25 classes, which were pretty solid. Justin, what's your biggest concern here?
Yeah, I mean, it's numbers for me. I flat out said this. I think that you need to be taking 20 to 25 every year. And that is because you have to worry about the portal and how that's going to affect you. That was not something that was part of the previous, 10 years. I guess you could go back the last 3 years or whatever, but it's becoming more likely that kids transfer than it was the first couple of years. Like it's felt like the first couple of years, kids kind of dipped their toes in. And now everyone's like, it's not working. I'm moving on. And I am truly concerned with how you can end up being numbers wise. And I said, I think you probably find a way to make it work in 26, but I'm really, truly concerned about 27, what the roster numbers look like. Where it's suddenly, are we going to be at 40 plus people that we got to bring in? And if we're going to have to go like a 25 or 30 kid class for high school and then still have to come up with another 20 from, the portal, it's like you're going to get yourself, you have to have your foundation through high school yet, because you have to have guys that have been in your system. You can't just be bringing in an entire roster and hoping to put it together in spring and fall. You have to have those guys that can kind of be like, hey, this is our culture. This is the way we do things here. And when everybody is a mercenary, it's really hard to do that because those guys are all coming in being like, I'm here for a year or 6 months or whatever it is. I don't care.
He's right. He's right because, I think that this year, even though it was up and down and everything, okay, I know that, but I do think that the reason there was still some buy-in and some fight, like you finally started to have at least a little bit of continuity, whether it was with the staff or young guys fully bought in, things like that. And, it's not even about money to me, Justin, like you said, it's about team building.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't want to be, I don't even know, think West Virginia just did it this year, ironically, that school, or Colorado a year or two ago. Like, you don't want to be that. I think that if you really talked with Fickle and the staff, like, what would you love to do? I think they would generally love to get 20 to 25 high school. Probably you lose at least, 10, 15 a year at least. So 12 to 18 transfers, some starters, some depth, some maybe just special teamers that'll be around. And then you reload and you develop. I think that's what they'd love to do. I know that people were saying, or it was in some group chats I was in too, people asking, like, do you really think, that the goal was this small of a class? Obviously, they would have loved to have kept some of these guys that recently left or flipped. I don't think they were going for necessarily the 25 either this class, though. I do think there is some truth
there was a lack
to
of
that,
aggression.
but just kind of that middle ground there.
Yeah, and it's kind of come full circle a little bit. We talked about how good the 24 and 25 classes were. And what we said after the 25 class was signed is it's time to prove it on the field. If we don't see the product on the field, then you're going to struggle in the future years. And lo and behold, we had our worst record that he's had since in the Lou Fickle era. He's 4-8. And sure enough, look at the 2026 class. You're seeing the effects of that.
And Max leaving.
Yeah, certainly with Max leaving. But you better believe that when you guys look at guys like Petit, like if our offense was a lot better and if we were winning a lot more games, we would have had a better chance of keeping him. We would have had a better chance of keeping, Janda and some of the guys that we lost. So I do think that plays a big part in it. Not often, or we're not going to definitely add a ton to it, but there is still opportunity to add here before the next signing day and some late high school ads. If there's a position that you feel like you would want to target in not necessarily the transfer order, but late high school ads to add to this class, Justin, where do you think it should be?
Oh, it'd be offensive line without a doubt. You got to have young guys that you're building up in your system ready to go. It's fine trying to bring in some depth, but you're losing upside when you go to the portal, because you're going to pay a premium for the higher level guys. So you have a chance, like when we bring in somebody like Mandel or Haywood and them, and I'm sure they got some money, but the finished product of one of those guys is like Haywood being like a potential NFL guy. You're looking at $1 million plus. Like it's well above that. Like when you get him out of high school, it's unrealized potential. So you're getting him much cheaper, and you have also the time to develop him in what you want to do. So realistically, in 2 years, he's ready to play in your system. He knows how everything works. There's no learning curve there. He's just fluid. He knows where he's what he needs to be doing. You get somebody that's, even if they're experienced, comes in mentally, it's still a process of being able to understand the offense and do everything at a high level. And that's not necessarily something that has zero time involved. It could take a couple games. It could take 3-4 weeks in the season for that to totally come together.
Nick, you agree with that offensive line? Is that where you'd like to strengthen this?
Yeah, that was exactly the top position I had written down as well, JJ.
Yeah, same. I mean, it's clear. It's one, right? I'm not
saying have just one guy.
One guy in Brady Beckenheis.
He's a really nice recruit.
That's not enough. Like we've seen this before. Go look at the class of 2021. Go look at that, and you'll see when you have one guy on the offensive line, it's just not good enough. You need 3-4 potential offensive linemen there. But again, like and I believe if I'm correct, I believe there's only one composite 4-star in this class, right? I believe,
and that's him.
Brady is the only composite 4-star. Everyone else is pretty much a 3-star per 247's rating and some composite ratings. But again, it gets fairly. We're not seeing super low. We're seeing everyone between an 89 and an 86 on 247 ratings, which I think is a nice. It represents that high floor sort of ability in this class. So let's talk about them a little more individually. We're gonna do some superlatives and talk through some of these guys, and then we will actually. Let me just give you out a quick list of the.
Yeah, give us the list of the whole class.
Superlative. So, Keyshawn Tabuto, that's one of the late adds, wide receiver, 3-star, an 89 rating out of Chattanooga, Tennessee. Quantavious Wiggins, also another one that was a late add, 3-star running back, 89 out of Langston Hughes in Fairburn, Georgia. Brady Beckenheis, I think we're saying that right. Here we go. That's good. Arlington, Massachusetts. That's a composite 4-star, 89 rating. Offensive tackle, could be a guard. Jiju Ba, the defensive lineman out of Germantown, 3-star. Yaya God, edge rusher, 3-star out of Medina, Tennessee. Jack Severs, tight end, 88 ranked out of Everett, Washington. Carson Elam's cornerback, 3-star, 88 rating out of Fishers, Indiana. And of course, my guy, Ryan Hopkins, quarterback at Mater Dei High School, 3-star. Donovan Dunmore, cornerback out of Clovis, California, 3-star, 87 rating. Taylor Schaefer, he is the JUCO transfer out of Iowa, also a 3-star linebacker. Connie Watts, the safety out of Iowa, out of Iowa Colony, Texas, 3-star. Zion Legree, the wide receiver out of Fort Walton Beach, Florida. He's also a 3-star. Arthur Scott, the defensive lineman out of Streetsboro, Ohio. And one of my favorites in this class, Ben Wenzel, 3-star inside linebacker out of Appleton, Wisconsin. So you do have, again, a lot of decent ratings in that class, which is nice. So let's start here. We'll start with Nick on this one. We're going to go through these first to see the field. So out of these 14 guys, we're only looking at these 14 guys. Who is the first that's going to see the field, Nick?
So I'm going to try to keep mine high school focused just because that's kind of the majority there. I'm going to go with Fat Boy, Quantavious Wiggins. I think that he is going to be in the mix, fighting for some carries with his unique skill set next year.
All right. I'm going to say it's your boy, Ben Wenzel. I think he's got a chance. It's going to take him a strong winter. He's probably got to put on 15 pounds this winter, if not 20. But I think he's a guy who instinctually has a chance to play early. He just feels like a kid that has a pretty good understanding, and it seems to click for him instinctually to be able to make plays. I think he has a chance to get himself in the 2 deep.
Yeah, I like the Fat Boy comment. I know it's the fact that that's listed, by the way, on like the Wisconsin. It's like actually in there. It's officially Fat Boy Wiggins. I actually really like Keyshawn Tabuto I really like him. I feel like he's a guy that I think might
do
be
too.
able to first, because guys, the reason I say that is let's look at this receiver room right now. Like, it's not pretty. Okay. Like, we don't have like a stellar receiver room because we're going to lose a lot of guys. And I know we'll get some in the portal, but I think Tabuto is a guy that very athletic guy, good hands. I think he's a guy that can see the field first.
He's awesome.
All right. Highest floor, your safest prospect that you see here, right? So who's the guy that you're like, all right, this is a safe one. We know he's going to be productive over the course of his career. Justin, where are you at with this one?
I would probably say Beckenheis.
Mm.
I think that he's got a chance to be a guy who definitely makes the two deep on the offensive line. And I think some of the other positions, it's just harder to project. Does it click for this guy? Offensive linemen, if they put the work in, they typically find a way to get there. So I think as long as he stays healthy, he's a guy I look at that think has a really good chance to at least get himself into being part of the rotation, if not to become a starter down the road.
Okay. Nick, where are you at with this one? Highest floor.
I love how Justin put that, by the way, if you put the work in at O-line, because I've never thought about it that way. My pick, similar to the first one from Justin, I like Wenzel here. I'm not saying he gets out there right away, but like you said, with his read and react, he's got decent speed, very strong, and a solid prospect. I mean, Oklahoma wanted him too. I think he'd be my highest floor.
I'm giving this one to Juju Ba. I really like what Ba's bringing and is going to bring. Look, and I think that you guys know me. I love defensive linemen. I think D line is just where it's at. And I think there's so much disruption that can happen there. He's got to put on some weight. He's only got a 6'3" frame. It's not like he's super tall, but I like the sort of the tenaciousness that he plays with and some of that violence that I think he has. And again, puts on good weight, but I think like he's the safest guy. I think Ba is going to be here for a while. I also was going between him and Yaya for this one too a little bit, but I'm going to go.
I really like God. With Ba, the question for me is how well does his body handle the weight? I think that his upside as a Javier Suggs. Like, I think that he's going to have that same type of like skill, but it's going to take him some time, and it's going to take him some time likely to adjust to the added weight.
Yeah.
I think God's 15 pounds shy of being able to like play physically. Like he's 260 already, and he can move at that weight, and you could probably play him at 275 provided he knows how to use his leverage and stuff like that.
Yeah. He's got a good frame, 6'5" frame there. All right, I'll go first on this one. Highest ceiling for me. This is my boy. This is Ryan Hopkins. I got a chance to see Ryan Hopkins play when he was here in Vegas at Bishop Gorman. And when you're playing Bishop Gorman and the school he plays for, Modern Day, you're talking about the best high school teams in the country. Like 71 players on that field that night had D1 offers. 71 players on those teams had D1 offers. That's how good Bishop Gorman is. There's Big Ten guys on their court. There's SEC guys on there. There's schools everywhere. And he tore them apart. Like the way he was throwing the ball all over the field. I really like what I see out of Ryan Hopkins. He stands tall in the pocket. He makes really good reads, good passes, very nice downfield ball, good timing. He can run. He's athletic. He's got a lot to learn. Like this guy is, I don't necessarily see him as the highest floor. I just feel like this is a guy that I could see projecting potentially to the next level at quarterback. I've liked him ever since I saw his film the very first time. And the more I've learned about him and the more I've watched him, the more I've seen him in person, I really like Ryan Hopkins. Nick, where are you on this one?
Great one, dude. I mean, seriously. I like how I think we've all been different through about half of these. This is the only one I'm going to give one on each side of the ball.
Okay.
Offense, I won't add a ton of breakdown because I think you already did, Rajiv, but I got Keyshawn Tabuto. I think that guy could, if he gets developed and kind of goes from good at a lot of things to great with some of that possession skills, NFL guy. And then you said, I think floor, one of you guys did, DJ Ba is my ceiling. Because like you said, he needs to add weight. He still needs to do a lot. He's newer to the game. But the way the staff wanted him and fought for him and other schools really wanted him, that makes me think they think this young man can be special under Fickle and EJ Whitlow.
Yeah, for me, it's Hopkins, although I agree. I do like Keyshawn. I really think his burst is something when you look at it on his film is just crazy. How fast he seemed to just suddenly get by guys. But Hopkins, the toolkit that kid has, whether it will come together mentally, I have no clue. But he's got every tool you could ask for in a quarterback. I think the arm is an above average arm at the college level. I think the speed is probably top 10 in the country for that position. I think he's got a good frame. He's probably going to have to put some weight on. I would guess that he's probably down in the 190 range or something like that right now. They're probably going to want him at 215, 220. But he's got virtually everything you could ask for, and he's going to be a real problem. Like if it clicks for him, his ability to run is absolutely like if you don't hold the edge on him and you don't have anybody waiting around the corner, if you lose contain, he's gone. Like that's like having a wide receiver get the ball in the backfield and go, because he can outrun a safety if he gets the edge.
Yeah, no, absolutely. All right. We'll start with Justin on this one. Most underrated in this class.
I got a good one here.
It's got for me. I loved his film when I looked at it the first time. There were a couple of guys that I saw in last year's class that I was pretty high on. I really like his movement ability as an edge. I think he's a guy who's a great frame. There's some bursts there, and I think he's got some good speed. Like he just a couple weeks ago in his title game had a 60-yard touchdown run as a defensive lineman. Like, and he's outrunning guys. Like they weren't tracking him down. So I would guess he's got some pretty good speed. But we don't typically have guys with that kind of size and that type of mobility.
Okay, Nick. That's
underrated. A great pick. I personally have Arthur Scott for this one.
Okay.
I think that he's just under 6'3", or maybe a true 6'3", 315. And I think he had some of the best senior film out of this group. Other schools were digging around a little bit. Iowa State offered. I think the staff really likes him in 2-3 years down the road.
So for me, this is a guy that I will talk about a lot, even the next few superlatives, and it's Ben Wenzel. He's one of my favorite guys in this class, and I feel like he's technically the lowest rated, at least per 247's ratings in the class, at an 86. I would challenge everyone, if you haven't seen Ben Wenzel's film, just go watch it. Just go watch his film. The dude plays like he's so heady. He's very kind of twitchy. He reacts very quickly to the ball. He plays with such a motor, and it's exactly the kind of profile that we like at our inside linebacker positions at Wisconsin.
Oh, yeah. I think he's going to be Posta's backup next year.
Yeah, Posta, Catalano. Like you look at Ben Wenzel, and I'm telling you, you're seeing, in my opinion, you are seeing the next future great running back down the line, a couple years. Ben Wenzel, he is not only the most underrated, he's also my favorite player in this class. I've been talking about him for weeks. I'm a huge fan of Ben Wenzel. So until everyone else thinks that he is like this, where I think he is, I'm going to call him underrated because I think he is fantastic, and I'm very, very excited to see him play. All right, most likely to be a future captain. So this also works in leadership and things like that, right? Not only great player, but also overall. Nick, where are you at with most likely to be a future captain?
I think I would again mention Wenzel. I think he's winning the award so far.
That's where I was going to go.
I'd also mention another one of Rajiv's guys, Hopkins. I do think he's starting to get a little bit more naturally into that leadership role. And QB, you hope so, right?
Yeah, I agree. I think it's pretty much clean sweep here on Wenzel. I think we all like Wenzel and Hopkins. Anyone else that you want to touch on here, Justin?
No, I would say Wenzel was the first name that jumped into my head when I thought about that. I'm very curious on Hopkins because it doesn't seem like he's the most outspoken guy. But then again, I'm looking at it publicly. And I have no idea what goes on behind the scenes in the group chats and stuff like that. And when he's actually talking with the guys that are involved with the team. So I don't know. I'm basing it completely off of what I've seen in terms of interviews and stuff like that, which it probably isn't fair, but that's all I have to go on. So I'm guessing that he's more of a by example kind of guy, but I hope that he is. Like I think the quarterback has to be. It's such a difference maker if that guy is somebody who looks like he'll go out there and bleed for the team. People will follow that guy because they know that he's the one that's got the ball. And if he's going out there and beating the crap out of himself to make things happen, then suddenly everyone else wants to give a little bit more.
Yeah. All right, next one. I'll start on this one. Shut down defender of this group. I'm going a little bit off the beaten path here. I'm going Carson Elam's, the cornerback out of Fishers. I really like this kid. But first of all, he's an Indiana kid, so hello, I like that. Again, another person I would say, if you haven't watched his film, go check it out. Right, like he's a lot of really good vision, really good adjustment to the ball, quick, decent tackler. Like, I just feel like this is one of those guys that he has a lot of developing to do, right? He's also got a good frame. He's 6'0", just short of 6'1". Like, that's a nice frame.
Yeah.
And he's only $175. Put on a little weight. I like Carson Elam's. I think he could be the future shutdown defender on this team. Nick, where are you at with this one?
Yeah, if you couldn't see from my reaction there, Rajiv and I have the same one. You know, I did try to keep different ones for all of these 6, 7, 8 we have. And I watched his tape. Like, he got a little ratings bump a couple weeks ago from our team and our guy Alan True, and I thought it was deserved. And you know what I will say? In terms of just favorite kids, you know, guys to talk with and get to know a little bit throughout the recruitment, also great to deal with. I like Elam's. I think he's actually got that high floor, like you said, Rajiv. It might take some time. It might be his third year, redshirt sophomore type of year, but I see him as a multi-year starter at Wisconsin.
Yeah, I'm going with the dark horse here. It's the new kid, Connie Watts.
Yeah, the safety.
Kid is a ball hawk. It's going to take him some time. He's got to add some weight. He's got good instincts on the back end, and he's a kid that just seems to always be around the ball if you watch his film. But he's also somebody who really tracks the quarterback well. And I think that's going to be something. There's some Zachman when you watch the way he moves on the field in terms of dropping in coverage, where he just seems to be very opportunistic. I think that's going to play up. It's going to take some time for him to get his body where it needs to be, because he probably needs to add 20 pounds. And he's probably a kid that's 160 something, 170. He's got to put some weight on and get a little bit more weight to him to be able to really hit. But he's not afraid to stick his nose in the fan. But he's also not a guy he's a guy that's really versatile, that can play on the back end and range around out there. And I think that's going to work.
I like the late ad. From my understanding, I do think the staff obviously had to be, you know, aggressive to make a play late. And I think Cooper and Pat Lambert and the staff did that. So I like his film, Justin. I do think he's like 172-ish or so right now.
Yeah.
All right, last one. You can't do superlatives to talk about recruits without this one, and that's the Sunday special. Most likely to play in the NFL, and I would say the most productive NFL player, like the top guy in this class as far as projecting 2 Sundays. Justin, I'll start with you on this one. Most likely to play in the NFL. Where are you at?
I'm going to say Fat Boy. Okay. I think that running back is a position that's easier to kind of hit the ground running and build yourself up. I do think he's got a nice skill set for it. He's definitely got some bursts that nobody else in the room really has. I think that when you talk about getting him potentially into things early, I think that might be something that gives him opportunity, is the fact we don't have somebody that has jets like him right now. It will be interesting to see how the portal works out in that regard, because I do think there's going to be some bodies added there. But I like his skill set. One of the things that I said is he seems a little advanced in terms of his ability to just understand the position. What I mean by that is he doesn't dance a lot. You see high school kids try to make a lot of things happen. This kid's kind of one cut and go, and he doesn't waste time. If it doesn't break into something, fine, but at least he doesn't take negatives. And I think that's something that's going to endear him to the coaching staff, that he doesn't give them negative plays. But I also think that if he hits a seam, he's one of the few guys you look at that it's like he can just outrun people.
Yeah. All right, Nick, Sunday special.
Great pick. I will change because I don't want him to be the same. He was up there for me, but I also felt like I have to pick this guy because really enjoyed speaking with him. His tape is phenomenal. Honestly, a good get. Yeah, God. Okay. I think that this is a guy. I actually asked Vic about it at the presser. You know, do you think he's potentially a guy that could mix really well with Mitchell and play early? And I think he could. You guys talked about his weight. The guy's got a nasty mentality. I appreciate that, Justin, because I really do love how you guys kind of project tape. To me, he's one of the safest picks in this one.
The frame he's so physically ready already.
Yeah. I wonder where I'm going. Ben Wenzel. Okay, Ben Wenzel. Watch for this man to play on Sundays. I just like him. I also want to just quickly touch on some other guys. I think we haven't really talked about a guy like Jack Severs, who is a guy that I really like in this class too. Like, and I'm not saying he's my Sunday special, but I just want to touch on him because he's not a name that we've said. There's also guys like Donovan Dunmore, who I feel like can be a good cornerback in this class too. Like there are a lot of good guys, but I'm going Wenzel for this because I just feel like just watch his film. Please go to huddle.com and watch his film if you have not. In telling you, it's fantastic.
You could say that same thing about Severs.
Yeah.
Right. Sometimes I watch his film. I understand it's not Ohio, Georgia, Texas football, but he as my man Justin would say, he pops.
He's quick.
I really like that pick, and I'm glad that the staff could hold with him.
If we were talking best athlete, I would have him in that group.
It's funny. I actually almost wrote that as one of them. So let's just do that. So
best athlete. It's him or Hopkins, but I like Severs. I cannot remember the last time we had a tight end with his type of ability level. It's probably like Ryan and I discussed it a little bit. It's either Kendricks or it's going back to what's his name? Oh man, played for the Giants.
Beckham
or him or Kendricks are the only two that I can remember that had that type of seam stretching ability where they can just outrun linebackers.
Yeah, he's very, very quick. He's very, very quick. And yeah, ever since I saw his film in the beginning, and we hadn't talked about him yet, I just wanted to mention him because he's a guy that also to check out. But I'm still going Wenzel with it. Yeah. But listen, altogether, maybe underwhelming, but again, it's a class that's got a lot of guys that I think really can be productive. Nick, thank you so much for joining us and for giving us some detail on the Latimer stuff. That's clearly the big story that comes out of this. I know we'll talk about it more. Justin and I will be back on Sunday, of course, for our regularly scheduled show to talk about some basketball, to talk about all kinds of stuff. We'll talk more about some of these recruits as well. Thanks for joining us on this signing day special and on Wisconsin.
Thank you for listening. If you enjoy the show, subscribe to our YouTube channel at The Bucky Report or The Bucky Report Podcast from wherever you get your content. Until next time, on Wisconsin.